Hello, I'm recording this after I finish editing this episode. You may notice later that I say that this is a comedy podcast. Although this episode isn't really comedic, this episode will be used to explain the general format for all the later episodes to come. There may be changes, but at this moment I don't have any plans on making changes. Please do not use this episode as a basis for what all the other episodes will sound like. You may notice that in this episode my voice sounded a little rigid, so to say. I'm not used to recording for 40 minutes straight just by myself. So just bear with me for the time being. I promise to get way better at doing this podcast biz. Also, I explain later in the podcast how there will be guests on the show, so you won't have to listen to my voice all the time. Also, I want to say that all graphics, audio, and music used have been made by me, including the one you're listening to right now. I hope you enjoy it. But I may take some resources online if they're available to the general public. Also, a quick PSA, if you're not doing literally anything while listening to this show, you're kind of doing something wrong. Please don't just listen to this. A podcast is made to be listened to in the background. It shouldn't be the main thing you're focusing attention on. So if you want, go on a walk or make dinner or play a video game or something. Anything to help pass time while listening to this show. Please. Without further ado, let's begin the show. Hello and welcome to The B Road Ahead, a comedy podcast made by a friend for friends. So if you're not a friend, get out. Nah, I'm just playing with you. You can give this episode a listen. My name is Brent, and I am a rising senior for my high school year. Here's a few details about my current situation right now. I am recording this episode in my closet. I am using a chair as my main desk for my microphone, and I also got a new microphone as well. Hooray. I'm using Adobe Audition for my software. And I had just finished eating lunch. I had a steak sandwich. Pretty yummy. Enough about that. I want to talk about this podcast that I'm creating. This is the first episode of what I hope would be many. Because of this, I would like to set a few ground rules first. The first rule I have would be regarding swearing. I am a high schooler. And more importantly, I have access to the internet. Because of this, I may be prone to swear. However, since this podcast may or may not be picked up by a lot of people, hopefully it will though, it may have an effect on what colleges I go to as well as other stuff regarding my career. So I will be doing my best to avoid swearing. Should there, however, be a time where I do swear, either intentionally or unintentionally, I will censor it with a sound effect. At this moment, I don't know which sound effect that will be. So I'm going to leave this in here for future Brent to edit. What the Okay, have fun with that, future me. Double takes. It is not uncommon for a person to do a double take in a podcast, either due to a stutter within his speech. So should I ever butcher a pronunciation or a joke, either through a stutter, quiet audio, or distraction, I will do a repeat of what I intended on saying, and I will edit out the bad take. You may or may not notice a sudden shift in audio because of this, but I plan on improving my editing skills to make such edits less noticeable, as well as just becoming better at speech, so I have to avoid editing in the first place. Guest stars. Ta-da! This will not be a solo podcast. I will be having guests over. So if you expect this show to just be me rambling on for around 30 to 40 minutes or so, sorry to disappoint you. The guests will depend on their availability as well as a topic for that episode, and I will mainly strive to have in-person guests, meaning they would be in the same room as me when I record. However, I will be fine with doing online guests as long as audio quality is somewhat good on their end. There will also be some requirements needed to be a guest on my podcast if you are interested in being one. The first one would be that I would have to know you. That means I would have to know your name as well as what you look like. Knowing these two things will help me a lot when it comes to conversing with others. Additionally, if you want to be on my podcast, you would need to have a topic in mind. Alternatively, I might approach you with a topic because I believe you would be a good fit to discuss that topic on an episode. You would also need to have a good microphone. That would help with the audio so that the episode quality would be pretty high. Those are all my current regulations when it comes to having a guest. However, these aren't really set in stone, so I may change these expectations as I see fit. Also, I aim on making this podcast around 30 to 45 minutes long per episode. Because of that, I would have to record for about an hour to an hour and a half, and then cut it down to remove any empty silences, double takes, and whatnot. This is a goal for me. I hope that over time, the amount of audio that I need to edit and the length of the finished product would become more and more the same, as I would have to do less edits and whatnot, and then I would be able to deliver more quality content to you all. This podcast would mainly just be me talking to a guest about a certain variety of topics. There will also be times where I would answer questions regarding myself as well as ask questions in an interview style with my guest. Because of this, there would have to be a few guidelines when it comes to answering questions. I will avoid asking questions regarding certain people close to me or surrounding the guests. I will also avoid specific names of locations and any other addresses. I am fine with talking about topics regarding me as well as my school, but due to privacy concerns, I will avoid actually saying the names of people involved as well as any organization. So when answering a question, I would usually have to give a fake name or refer to them in an abstract manner. Additionally, I'll try to avoid inappropriate topics. However, what is considered inappropriate will be decided on my discretion. Lastly, I will also try to avoid politics, not for any big reasons, just that it's just a big old bag of cats that I'm not willing to open up right now. It's way too complex for me, man. If you have a question for me that you would like me to answer, I do have a form available on the several pages that I have for my different channels and different sites. I plan on having an Instagram page, a Facebook page soon, as well as a YouTube page. And on those websites, I will be having a link towards a survey form where you can help put questions there for me to ask. But enough about that for now. Let's head to a small intermission first, where I will discuss some other things. In this time, I will be taking a small break. Thank you. I will try my best to avoid giving this podcast too much of a structure. I do believe having a free form would allow for more creativity, as well as just having better dialogue. But I do plan on having certain segments in order to help give this podcast more substance, make it seem more official, and just overall have a better feel to it. I plan on talking about a variety of things, such as movies, video games, other stuff in the current news, as well as anything that piques my interest or the listener's interest as well. Should the episode be filled with a topic that would prevent me from answering any questions, I would reserve this small intermission break to help answer some of these questions by myself that I don't think would be worth answering with another guest around. Additionally, if this podcast were to grow to become more popular, I could reserve this spot here to have special messages for certain listeners of the show. So if you want me to read something out for another person to hear, I would be down to do that. But right now, there is no special messages, so why don't we head back to the show? Thank you. Okay, time to answer some questions now. These questions can be about anything, as long as it doesn't break any of the rules I established before. I may change these rules, I may not. It will only depend on how successful this show will be. These questions can range from questions about my personal life, questions about my interests, as well as questions about advice that you're seeking. However, if you write me a question seeking advice on how to deal with a breakup or how to deal with this constant flow of time that is uncaring to you. Please understand that I'm 17 years old. I like video games and cool fight scenes. So don't really expect much wisdom from me. I will not be delivering you golden quotes or anything for you to live your life by. The first question I have is from Enormous Willie. Thank you, Willie. By the way, my survey form allows you to put your name on a certain section. That way I can get an understanding on who is asking me the question. You don't have to be specific on who your last name is, as well as you can leave a funny name as you want. This first question comes from Enormous Willie. Thank you, Willie. The question is, what are some funny stories from your childhood? I usually have one good response when it comes to this kind of question. That is, back when I was young, I think before elementary school, I think I got my family banned from an IKEA once. It was during a time when me and my younger brother would still come with my parents on grocery trips or whatnot, and they decided to take us to an IKEA. Since we were young and we would be a nuisance, they decided to leave us at the daycare center there at IKEA while my two parents were off shopping. At this daycare center, there was the whole nine, ball pit, movie playing constantly, foam blocks. But for some reason, I just didn't want to be there. So I decided the best course of action was to leave. And what better way to just exit than to open the fire emergency, setting off the alarm as I try to get out. Because of this, my family would be punished for my stupidity as we would get banned from IKEA. I do believe this ban has been forgone, though, and as we were able to return to this IKEA now. This story is a weird one because I don't really have much memory about it. However, everyone else in my family seems to know that I was the one responsible for doing it. So I guess it's just a story that I seem to have forgotten a long time ago. Another story that I have is when I was either in first or second grade and was active in my Cub Scout pack. My Cub Scout den would visit a police department near our pack. We would get a tour of their visiting center as well as where they would keep their jail suspects and whatnot. And they showed us one of the rooms where they would hold these convicts. In the room there was a stone bed, and on it there was a pair of handcuffs attached to that bed. And while the rest of the group was heading onward with the tour of the police department, I stuck around for a bit and got curious on how the handcuffs would work. So I went into the room and just put one on my hand. And surprise, surprise, I wasn't able to escape. It was a pair of handcuffs and I tightened it all the way. And I didn't know what to do at that point. I didn't yell or anything, but they were able to notice that, hey, one of these kids are just straight up missing. So they returned quickly to the room and they saw that I was still in there with a pair of handcuffs on me, and they were able to let me out. Besides from these two stories, I don't really have much going on. I don't believe that I've had the most embarrassing memories. Or if I do, I probably just blocked them out. Anyways, Enormous Willie asked another question. This question is, how do I prevent things I learned from my past relationships from affecting my current one? Okay, I'm going to be real with you right now. I've had no experience dating a person, and I'm single, by the way, so if you want to try something, hit me up. I'm just kidding, this is a comedy podcast. I have had no experience dating in person, and I'm currently not in a relationship, so I'll answer this question to the best of my ability. That being said, if you learn from a relationship about a negative trait that you have that affected the way that relationship went, the best thing you can do is learn from it rather than use that information and keep it on the back burner at all times. But also do understand that it is seldom that the person in your previous relationship would return to you because of that. And that's not what you're trying to aim for. You're just trying to stay with your current partner. Because of this, I recommend you just acknowledge what caused your previous relationship to fail and avoid having those same mistakes occur. You can either change yourself, you can either be honest with your partner and tell them up front, hey, this is what I had been through. I wanted to let you know that. And that way they can also try to help you as well. Above all things, it's only going to be you who can help you get through these previous relationships. It requires a good balance between letting these moments affect you, but also showing that you're more than just these moments. So avoid having these lessons hit you really hard, but do let them shape you so that you don't have it repeat. That's all I can say right now. Hopefully over time I'm able to better formulate my answers, because I think I just had a bunch of slop right there. Thank you, Willie, for those questions. These next two questions come from a person who didn't give their name. Their first question being, how has drama club shaped your high school experience? So a little thing about me, I am in part of my school's drama club. I have been active in drama since 7th grade when I did my first musical in my middle school. And I have been mainly casted for lead roles during my time in drama. Drama is one of those things where at the moment you may feel miserable, but when it's over, you can only think about all the good times you had. I think it's called level 2 fun, where it's not fun in the moment, but it's only fun afterwards when you think about it. Anyway, drama club has given me the opportunity to be in front of others. Besides drama, the only other time I would be on stage would be for orchestra or choir. But usually in those two activities, I would be surrounded by others who would perform more than I would. Or we would help form one collective group together to share the audience. Whereas in drama, it would mainly just be me and like a few other kids on stage who help entertain the audience and captivate them. Drama club has helped me become more confident in my own speaking abilities. I do believe that without drama club, I wouldn't be able to make this show, or I wouldn't have the courage to make it. And I realized that the more shows I do, like the more unaffected or the less I worry about performing in front of an audience. That is kind of a good and a bad thing. The more shows I do, I feel less worry from the days leading up to the actual production. So I don't know if that will have I don't know if that really has a negative effect on my performance, whether then I will put more care to make sure I don't make a mistake, or I no longer need to worry at all because I believe that I have the skills necessary to avoid making those mistakes. Additionally, from drama club, I would make a lot of friends. Outside of school, I believe drama is my biggest source of social interaction with others. I've met a lot of interesting people. Because of that, I would get to know my fellow classmates more and more and see a side of them that they wouldn't really show within a regular school day. The next question from this person is, how to deal with one Miss D? D is short for drama, and that's not their actual name. But I know this teacher who is related to the drama program, and this teacher also holds a class in a core elective. Because of this, a lot of students are aware of this teacher, both in and outside of drama, and they also try to avoid her. Me personally, I have had no struggles with this teacher. I know others who struggle in her main classes that are also part of drama, which would lead to a more stressful relationship with that teacher during drama, because they are the one mainly responsible for hosting the productions. I guess the best way to deal with teachers like this is just to suck up to them, to be honest. And I know that might seem bad, but if you bear with it, over time they will grow to respect you. So whenever they tell you, hey, your acting skills suck or something, or you struggle to do the parametric sequence, you can just bear with it and learn from it, because overall that's what the teacher is trying to teach you. If you find this teacher to still be a problem to both kids around you as well as your overall health, do reach out to other students that you believe are also facing the same struggles. And that way you can all voice your opinion together to help see some change occur. And even though myself, I wouldn't struggle with this teacher, I do believe it's best to voice out your opinion Otherwise, they will just continue to keep doing it. Hopefully that answers your question. This next question also comes from a person who didn't leave their name. The question is simply, who is Brent? Silly question asker. That's me. Nah, I'm just kidding. This question is very, very open, and I won't be able to give the best response. But to answer that question, I have to say that I am a friend, a brother, a student, an artist, a gamer, an actor, a singer, a reader, and many more things. It would be really hard for me to label who I am as a person. I've done a lot over my 17 years. I've been on road trips. I traveled across different countries, and I've managed to meet a lot of interesting people who help make me who I am today. So to whoever who asked me this question, I'm sorry to not give you a really substantial answer, but I hope that as this podcast goes on, you will know who exactly I am through my answers and through what I say. Thank you. Their next question is also, what keeps you going? Another really open-ended question for me to answer. I believe, above all things that keeps me going, it's just the thing that drives me to continue is just knowing that there will be more opportunities that await me. I've done activities that I believe will have no payoff in the future, and there is nothing that helps me persevere through these activities than knowing that they will be over. I've done long summer camps before that I do believe I could have spent my time doing better activities, but I still was able to get past these, not by sulking my way through them, but by just imagining, hey, I plan on doing this when I'm done. And at the end of the day, you realize, hey, I can get past these things. A small trick I have when it comes to getting past bad activities and whatnot is I like to say to myself, I'm going to time travel until after this event happens. When I say that in my head, it makes me quickly speed up to whenever the event finishes. I notice that after I say this, all the activities that follow seem to happen quicker. My brain processes these activities lesser and lesser, allowing them to feel more sped up as I'm able to reach the desired goal or aftermath that I want. These are all the questions I plan on answering for this episode. This marks the end of this episode. I would like to thank whoever's listening to the show, as well as those who help support this podcast and were excited to see it being made. Thank you for all who have submitted questions for me to answer. I will try my best to make sure these questions are all answered. I plan on having 2 episodes out per month. However, do understand that I am just 17 years old and that I am entering my senior year, so who's to know what's going to happen in my life. If you have any questions that you would like to ask me, please use the form that should be linked to wherever website you are listening to this podcast on. If you want to be a guest on my podcast, please reach out to me using the email theberoadahead@gmail.com. You can also try reaching out to me using Instagram. If you want to support this podcast and see more episodes being made, please get the word out about this show and encourage others to listen to it and leave some questions for me to answer. Additionally, I don't plan on just doing a podcast. Because I have a really good microphone and a good headset, I do believe it would allow me to do streaming for video games as well. If you are interested in seeing me play some video games, please follow me on my new Twitch account as well as my YouTube channel, where I plan on posting edited videos and VODs. Thank you for listening. I hope this episode has been somewhat enjoyable for you. I know this episode may not be the longest, but I do hope that with time and experience, I will be able to improve my techniques and create more high-quality content for you all to enjoy. That's it. More episodes to come. This summer of mine will be pretty busy with college essays and summer camps and whatnot, so I'll do the best I can to produce stuff for y'all. This podcast will hopefully last around my senior year. I hope you're able to stay along with my journey and I encourage you, just go out there and do what you want to do. Without further ado, I wish you a good day and good luck on whatever adventures await you. Thank you.